Hey, baby.
Hey.
Long time no see. How the hell are you?
All right.
Give me a big hug. Have a seat.
Oh, cool.
God, you never change, man. You're always the same, dude. That's pretty amazing. How long are you in New York for?
Just till Tuesday.
Oh, shit. Okay. Well, maybe we'll walk around and stuff. I miss you, man. It's nice to see you again. When you look at art history books, kids going to art school, you're going to film school in NYU, and the book about film, there's going to be a section on Nick, Cinema of Transgression. I've seen it. I remember kids in NYU who were interns working for me years ago when I had a film company, and they're like, "Oh, let's go look at Nick Zedd films," and they were getting this from their school, okay? And they actually went to the video, I think it was Kim's Video at the time, whatever.
Yeah.
Rented some videos, brought it back to my place, and it was all this dicks going in mouth. And I was like, wow. Okay, that's how I've heard your name before,
right.
But I had never seen your films. And it was these kids from NYU. Right. This was 25 years ago.
It's interesting, though, people always focus on the penis, the erect penis, because there's actually, percentage-wise, not that as many erect. There's not that much erect penises ejaculating.
It's what they
right, but that's what always sticks in people's heads.
Of course,
not the vaginas.
Yeah, you don't see it every day.
Right.
Especially your own dick going into your own mouth.
Yeah, right.
Supposedly.
Yeah, that was thrust in me. That was where I had sex with myself.
Whose dick was that?
Richard Kern.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but Cinema of Transgression is an art movement that he started, and a phrase and term that he coined. Tell us about that and what that means.
It means transgressing, going beyond boundaries, and it involves xenomorphosis, the union of opposites.
Xenomorphosis.
Yes.
That's great. Is that another word you made?
Yes.
Wow, because it's a great word, xenomorphosis.
Yes.
I love that. All right, so tell us about that, because we're going to have to explain all this.
Well, it involves cognitive dissonance, which occurs when a wavering, when you see two diametrically opposed images at the same time, it can cause cognitive dissonance, which can mentally emancipate you from the conditioning of consensus reality. A way of communicating in a more direct manner, right? But most of the filmmakers would not even bother to try and articulate what they're doing, right? They're kind of like painters. You can't. How do you describe a painting? If you made the painting, right? If you could describe it, there's no reason to make it, right? As far as I'm concerned, and it's kind of similar with the films. Some of them, I never try to explain my films anyway. It's just you experience them, right? What do they mean? They mean what they are.
Yeah, well, that sounds cool. I have to say that seeing the retrospective that you had, the small retrospective that you had 2 years ago,
Right.
I was blown away. I was actually blown away to see all of them in there. See people like Rocket's Red Glare up there doing his business. Like, let me tell you, man. So you have at least worked with some of the legendary motherfuckers that are out there. And of course, if viewers don't know who Rocket's Red Glare is, he's a guy who was. I remember hanging out with him in the East Village. He was a normal guy, but he was in Jim Jarmusch's Stranger Than Paradise in the poker scene, and he does all these little bits. He was a great guy, and he's in some of your films, I think. Playing the cop or something, and
in Police State.
Yeah, but so you have interesting people in all those films.
Also in that film was Charles Horatio Crowley, the black police lieutenant, and I saw him reciting poetry in some bar on the Lower East Side, and then it turned out he was one of the main activists in the Attica prison uprising. Oh, wow. And he had stories to tell me about being tortured and beaten in there.
Oh my God.
But he was really great at playing a cop. Right.
So he knows the mentality of a cop. I think anybody who
Rockets too.
Yeah, anybody who's had their ass kicked by a cop understands the mentality of a cop. I mean,
right.
I know I've been arrested many times, proudly.
Yeah. They still won't let me into Canada.
Yeah, me neither.
Right.
Yeah. Why? What's your excuse?
Well, usually they always examine my films, and well, the police, the last time I tried to go there on a train, they took me off the train and took me to the police station and watched the films for 2 hours on a projector.
Because you had DVDs.
Yeah, but I also had 16 millimeter, and they had a projector for it. And I thought, wow, so now that they're film critics, right? And they
and they denied your entries based on the content of your film.
well, they told me. Well, actually, yeah, but they said, they did say to me, "Have you ever been arrested?" And I said, "Sure, hasn't everyone?" And you can't come in. And I said, "Am I on some kind of blacklist because this has been going on for 20 years?" And he said, "Probably." You know,
of course.
Right.
Me too.
Yeah, Sweden also. I was subjected to this when I arrived in Gothenburg in the early 90s. They took me to a room and examined all the films for 2 or 3 hours on a projector. And then critique the films. And I said to him, "You're a cop. You're not an art critic."
That's what I'm saying.
But then they said, "Oh, well, regrettably, we have to let you in the country, but don't show the films."
Oh,
and then,
sure, I won't.
Right. A week later, the police showed up in the apartment I was staying and arrested me again, took me down to the station, looked at the films again for another few hours, and then
They jerked off later on.
yeah.
Pervs.
And the police chief said at the end, "Okay, well, we're not able to use prior restraint to prevent you from, being here with the films, but don't show them." And I thought, okay, so you don't have a right to stop me, and you're telling me don't do it. So then I just showed the films, and nobody cared, right? I even showed them in a theater next door to the police station. But nothing happened. Yeah.
That was like cops that coming to my nightclub. They would say stuff like, "And no more parties." And I'd be like, I don't know. That doesn't have the patina of legitimacy to it. Like, is there some law that says don't have parties? I mean, I don't know what that means. And they would say, "You don't know what that means. It means don't have any more parties." And I don't know what that means.
The party's over. Missing
Yeah.
Foundation said that, right?
What's that? What?
Missing Foundation. That was their slogan. The party's over.
Oh shit.
Because it was like 1933, they would have a cocktail glass upside down. That was their graffiti all over the world, because they were saying America is becoming Nazi Germany in 1933. The party's over. Right?
Well, that's what it seems like now. The center is collapsing. The extremes are broadening. So you have the far right, the far left is growing. The center, which is represented by the Republican and Democrat Party, this is hollowed out and collapsing quickly. This is Weimar 1933 all over again, basically, because soon, including with the violence too. So you're going to see the Antifa and the so-called Nazis, fringe groups, and what happens is the people that are in the center have no choice. They have to make a decision, and because they need to have some cover. So you're going to have a lot of people going to these extremes, and this is Germany.
It's good entertainment for the media.
No, they love it.
But then they got the crisis actors working and all that too.
What do you think about this Alex Jones total deplatforming? I mean, this is ridiculous, dude.
Well, in a sense, it may help him because it's going to turn him into a martyr, a hero,
Sure.
right? And everybody's going to seek out the information that's being suppressed.
I think so. I mean, already. I mean, I have never been. I had never had his app on my cell phone or anything like that. As soon as I saw that, literally in 12 hours, they had done this coordinated attack, I downloaded the app just so to have contact to see. Because actually, the thing about Alex Jones is he's only put out about 10 million shows and on every single subject, and 99% of them you're gonna agree with him if you're a classical liberal. Okay, so maybe 2 or 3% of this stuff that he talks about you're not gonna agree, and of course that's gonna be the only stuff that the mainstream media tells you.
Right.
So all about Sandy Hook. If you ask a normal liberal, an idiot, right? Then not a real liberal, right? If you ask them
Fake liberal.
why, or fake liberals, if you ask them why do you hate Alex Jones, 99% are going to say, "Oh, Sandy Hook." Dude, you don't even know what he said about Sandy Hook. You know nothing. You're just repeating what the mainstream media told you to repeat, and you're doing it dutifully. You're an obedient little thought slave, right? Of course, that's what they are, right?
He did predict 9/11 too, before it happened.
He predicted a lot of things before it happens. Listen, I don't agree with some of the things he says.
Yeah, not everything.
95%, however, you better be thankful there's Alex Joneses in the world, because otherwise,
right.
you know,
It was great that he went to Bohemian Grove with undercover cameras.
Of course, and he's going after
the world order.
George Soros. He's taking on he took on the Rockefeller when he was like, the guy's enemies are the right enemy. You judge a man by his enemies. That's why I like Trump, because look who hates him. All the people that we hate. Neocons hate him, right? The Democrats hate him. All the worst people in the world hate Trump. That tells you something.
I don't like him, but I don't hate him.
I never liked him. I like him now because I'll tell you why I like him, because he needs support. Because if he doesn't, they're going to sabotage this system, and it's going to be war, war, war. He's the only thing between peace and war is Trump. You get rid of Trump, and Syria.
Pence. Then you got Pence, the homophobe.
Yeah, it's even
and
worse.
a long line of reactionary.
The uterine crusader.
Yeah.
And Pence is a complete creep. But that's what they want. And, honestly, I gotta say something, man. I don't know what your feelings on this, because we have been out of touch for a year, at least since when was your show? In the last show?
2 years.
2 years ago now?
Yeah.
Oh my God! So I haven't seen you in 2 years.
Right.
And in this interim time, we've had this populism, this Trump populism, and honestly, I'm not seeing the Nazi that they're saying the guy is, and actually the guy's like not pushing for war. I mean, bottom line is we don't
keep saying that.
Well, I mean, the bottom line is that we're not seeing these large ground invasions, man.
Right.
So I mean, it's like, and I think that's why the Zionist media is pushing this. Oh, he's racist. It's just because they're not getting the profitable wars they want. So it's xenophobia, racism, sexism.
Right. I think that the American people in the last election were so fed up with the establishment. It was a surge of populism, for Bernie Sanders or Trump, and because Hillary Clinton stole the primaries, and the Democratic Party stuck with the corporate stooge Clinton from the Clinton crime family, then American people felt like, well, what's the choice, right? At least Trump appeared to be an outsider, and in the debates, he actually was saying the truth every once in a while.
Of course,
right?
He was a guy who was the anti-establishment guy, just like Bernie Sanders. And he was promising to gut the ruling class. He was saying that we're gonna try to drain the swamp. He didn't have such an easy task at doing that. He reached into the swamp himself to pull out some people.
Right.
But that's because
he was against the TPP. That was good.
That's good. He's against war in that, and he's actually for the American worker. He's trying to bring back. He's trying to not sell it out to China.
Right. He negotiates with Kim Jong-un in North Korea. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Negotiating with Putin. That's a good thing.
Yet every day in the news, they're saying, we're going to impeach him. And the question is, on what grounds? Like what the fuck?
Because he's doing the exact same thing that Nixon did, or FDR, détente, engage with the so-called enemy.
That's exactly right.
And since when did Russia become the enemy?
Yeah, especially for liberals.
Why do we need McCarthyism now? That didn't work last time in the 50s, but I guess, of course, it's all a cover for the Clinton crime family stealing the primaries from Sanders.
Of course, and that's why they have to push this big Russia narrative, because they were embarrassed that they lost.
Right, with no evidence whatsoever to support it.
Yeah.
And then everybody in the echo chambers on Facebook and on social media, they're all alienated. I mean, it's bizarre. I can't believe I'm like having to defend Trump, who represents what I'm against, real estate tycoon, right, ripping off people and appointing a bunch of establishment stooges to his administration.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's a weird position, because I'm in the same position, and I have a weird thing now, and I blame the Democratic Party for forcing me to support a Republican for the first time in my life, because Republicans are repulsive scum, right?
Yeah.
But Democrats are now worse, actually. That's really weird.
I voted for Jill Stein, so no one can blame me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, if the election were tomorrow, I would have no choice but to vote for Trump, because I don't want this progress that's being made. Because as soon as the Democrats party, it's going to be war again in Syria, war, defense, and war, more war and stuff. How they've tricked the liberals. Because right now the big threat is not coming from the conservative Republicans like it was back in the 1980s. Yes, we knew who the enemy were. The Christian conservatives, 1980s. You and I lived through it. We know how bad that shit is, right? Yeah. Okay, but those are not the problem right now. It's the left liberal class. It's the ones who are cheering on the FBI, and cheering on...
They're not real liberals.
They're not
doing that.
Yeah.
suddenly now the CIA is supposed to be our friend, Brennan.
Yeah,
I mean,
Brennan.
Yeah, he doesn't deserve security clearance.
No,
right?
no.
I mean, he's behind the PSYOP,
No.
right? The
He's
Russian.
a thug. He's a thug.
Yeah, PSYOP, right?
Yeah, and the left is sucking his dick.
Except for people like Glenn Greenwald,
Right.
Chris Hedges,
Yep.
Noam Chomsky.
Yeah, the real left, the real left liberals. But that's why I don't like to use the word term left liberal anymore, because I use the word so-called left liberal, because
I'm a free thinker, so then now it's like being a free thinker is a bad thing, I guess. If you think for yourself.
it's bad.
If you don't think along party lines, then
Yep. That they don't want anything to do with you, and the fact that the left is cheering on censorship is just fucking unbelievable.
right. Yes.
They're cheering on. They did a poll of Apple employees, because Apple's leading the charge here. They did a poll. 71% of Apple employees think, yeah, let's get rid of the First Amendment. So people are just brain dead. They think they're so special.
But then, they want to own the term fake media, right? They want to apply it to alternative media, like RT or alternative sources of information that question the dominant narrative, right? But the fake news is CNN, Fox, and controlled corporate media, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And then the funny part about it was that the term was invented specifically so that they could marginalize the real media, the alternative media. And then everybody said, no, CNN, you're the fake media.
Right.
Look, I mean, honestly, when Trump attacks the mainstream media for being the lying scum that they are, I have to applaud him for that. I mean, they are this lying scum, and he's correct. They're the fake news, for sure.
Yeah. But that's why I got in an argument today on Facebook over that, because someone says, I think it's a terrible thing the way our president denigrates these established institutions that are there to protect us. I'm like, oh, what, like the CIA? They did a great job at 9/11, right? What is this? Suddenly we're now supposed to think they're here to protect us. But that's what I get, like when I went to San Francisco, right, from Mexico, and I have to go through immigration, and I get up to the woman in the police outfit, right? And as soon as she sees me, she's like, "You don't look happy." I said, "Well, why would I be happy in a prison planet where look around you, And she's like, "Well, what do you mean?" Like I said, "Well, I have to stand in all these lines and answer all these questions as if you have some authority over me, right?" And she says, "Well, we're here to protect you." I said, "I don't want your protection."
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. You don't need
I don't need your protection.
And I don't need your proctology exam every time I come through the fucking border. Well, I remember, and you probably remember too. I don't know, but I remember flying in the 1970s, early 1980s. You just get on a plane. There was no, they didn't even ask to see an ID. You just show your ticket, and there was no. No test, no proctology exam, no putting on the gloves and doing it, Right. You just got on the plane and lit up a cigarette, and
and your body wasn't X-rayed from all corners.
Yes, exactly.
Right? So
Genital scans.
Naked, right?
Lower your trousers, sir, please. We'd like to scan your genitals, to make sure there's no genital bombs on you. You know what all this stuff comes from? Is all these. I think it has to do with. You have the country which controls the political classes, which is Israel. They control Republican and Democrat. Own your power, don't deny it. But this is what Joel Stein, a prominent Jewish journalist of the Los Angeles Times, he says, of course we own and control the media and Hollywood, of course, and we wouldn't have it any other way. Anyways, what this is that Israel was the type of society that, because of its origins, had no choice but to have machine guns on the streets on every corner and stuff, and they said, well, God damn it, we want America to be in the same boat. So 9/11. And that's why they did 9/11. And then now you go to the airports and you see these guys with machine guns. And my father, when I was a little kid, he said, son, there's one difference. He served in the Air Force. One difference between us and them is that we, in our country, we don't have military on the streets and in shopping malls and train stations with guns, and you don't see any of that. That's the difference between us and Europe and all the rest of the world. Well, that difference is over now.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Antifa now that are fascists.
They're fascists.
They're supposed to be anti-fascist, but then they like punch out somebody for a difference of opinion, right? And mace them.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But I've had arguments with people about this. They like friends of mine for years that say, well, Nazis deserve to be punched in the face. Like, yeah, but I say, once you do that, you're a Nazi.
That's right.
It's like, I mean...
Well, but the bar for Nazi is becoming so low. Like, I'm a left liberal, you're a left liberal. They would call you a Nazi if you disagreed with, like, gender reassignment for 11-month-old babies. You're a fucking Nazi. I mean, basically. Everything's shifting to the... Well, I don't know, shifting to the right or to the left. What's the Overton window shifting to?
It's shifting to the left, but in a way that also has these authoritarian overlays. Like it's shifting.
Basically,
it's
I'll get your opinion on this theory. This theory is that the ruling class realized they couldn't sell their militaristic agenda with the same white faces, so they decided to get black, gay, Hispanic, female in order to push the same narrative, right? And so now what they do is it's the same militarism as it was before, but now it has an overlay of like gender friendliness, and they dangle the word gender in front of a liberal, and they're like, oh, gender. Okay, you could kill tens of thousands of people in any war you want as long as you're gender friendly. That's fine with me, you know, basically.
Or black like Obama, then it's okay to the drone killings are fine.
Yeah,
right?
As long as you've satisfied the archetype of liberal, which would be like gay, black, female. As long as you satisfy that, you can slaughter, kill, you know.
But I mean, Trump's. It's hard to say. You know, if part of his base was white supremacists and bigots. You know, I mean.
Well,
there's not enough white supremacists.
There's not enough of them.
Well, yeah, they're not in majority. They're the extremists that the media focuses on, right, to demonize.
Sure.
Right?
I mean, we would never have heard of Richard, what's his name? Spencer, if CNN didn't roll up in a fucking satellite truck and beam him into every household.